The restaurant smells like failure tonight. I can tell by the way Manager Chen keeps glancing at his watch, by the empty tables near the window that should be full on a Friday evening, by the kitchen staff smoking outside instead of prepping orders that aren't coming. Golden Phoenix has been dying slowly for months, and I've watched every agonizing moment of its decline while scraping together barely enough in tips to keep the lights on in my studio apartment. My feet ache in these cheap non-slip shoes. The uniform, a red qipao knockoff that's supposed to look authentic, but just looks sad, pinches under my arms where the fabric has started to fray. I'm 26 years old with a degree in international business from a university back in Shanghai that means absolutely nothing here in San Francisco. 3 years in America, and I'm still just another immigrant waitress serving kung pao chicken to tourists who can't use chopsticks. May. Chen snaps his fingers at me from behind the host stand. Table 7. VIP. I look up from rolling silverware into paper napkins. Table 7 is in the back corner, the private booth we reserve for customers who want discretion. It's been empty for weeks. VIP. I repeat in Mandarin, because Chen's English is worse than his business sense. Since when do we have VIPs? His face goes pale. Actually pale. Chen has weathered skin from decades of kitchen smoke and stress, but right now he looks like he's seen a ghost. Just be professional. Be perfect. Understand. The way he says it makes my stomach clench. Be perfect. That's what my mother used to say before my father's business associates came to dinner. Before everything fell apart. Before the debt collectors started calling. Before I fled to America with nothing but a student visa and my mother's jade bracelet, the only thing of value I managed to hide before they took everything else. I smooth down my uniform and grab a menu, though I suspect whoever is sitting in table 7 won't need one. The restaurant's main dining room is a sad attempt at elegant, red lanterns hanging from a water-stained ceiling, golden dragons painted on walls that need repainting, round tables with lazy Susans that stick when you try to spin them. It's the kind of place that survives on wedding banquets and birthday parties, not ambience. But table 7 is different. Table 7 is in a separate alcove behind a decorative screen, with its own entrance from the side alley. Chen's father built it that way deliberately, back when Golden Phoenix was actually successful, back when certain businessmen needed certain kinds of privacy. I approach the screen and pause, hearing voices. Low. Male. Speaking Mandarin in accents that make my spine straighten involuntarily, Beijing Mandarin, the kind spoken by people who expect to be obeyed. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. I step around the screen with my professional smile in place, the one that says, I'm just a waitress, I don't see anything, I don't hear anything, I don't matter. 4 men sit around the table. 3 of them are exactly what I expected, expensive suits, cold eyes, the kind of physical presence that comes from knowing you're dangerous. They barely glance at me. But the 4th man. He sits at the head of the table even though it's round, and I can't explain how a round table has a head except that when he's sitting there, it simply does. Mid-30s, maybe. Sharp jawline, dark eyes that miss nothing, hair cut precisely. His suit probably costs more than 6 months of my rent. He's looking at his phone when I approach, his expression unreadable. Good evening, gentlemen, I say in English, keeping my voice neutral and professional. Welcome to Golden Phoenix. May I start you with drinks or appetizers? The man to his right, built like a concrete wall stuffed into designer fabric, responds in Mandarin. Tea. The good stuff, not the garbage you serve regular customers. And bring menus. I nod, keeping my face blank even though his rudeness makes my jaw tight. Of course. Right away. I'm turning to leave when the man at the head of the table finally looks up from his phone. His eyes meet mine for exactly 2 seconds, and something in my chest constricts. Not attraction, not exactly. Recognition, maybe. The way you recognize danger when you see it. He doesn't smile. Doesn't acknowledge me beyond that brief glance. But I feel the weight of his attention like a physical thing before he returns to his phone. In the kitchen, I'm shaking as I prepare the tea service. Chen hovers nearby, wringing his hands. Who are they? I ask quietly while measuring out the good oolong we keep hidden in the back. You don't want to know. Chen. He glances toward the dining room like they might hear us through walls and distance. The one at the head of the table, that's James Zhang. You understand. My hand's still on the teapot. James Zhang. Even I've heard that name, and I try very hard not to hear names like that. He runs everything west of Market Street, the restaurants, the import businesses, the gambling houses, the protection services. He's what my father was before he made the mistake of trusting the wrong people. Before his business partners decided he was more valuable dead than alive. What does he want with Golden Phoenix? I whisper. We're barely staying afloat. There's nothing here worth. That's exactly why he's here. Chen's voice cracks. He's deciding whether to invest. Whether to take over. Whether we're worth saving or should just disappear. The implications settle on me like snow. If James Zhang invests, the restaurant survives. If he takes over, Chen loses everything but might keep his job. If he decides we're not worth the trouble. I've seen what happens to businesses that become inconvenient to men like James Zhang. They catch fire. They fail health inspections. They simply close one day and never reopen, the owners relocated to some other city or perhaps nowhere at all. Then I'd better make sure the service is perfect, I say, lifting the tea tray. Back at table 7, the men are discussing something in low voices. I catch fragments as I approach, names I don't recognize, numbers that sound like payments, territories and shipments and protocols. I let the words wash over me without comprehension, the way I've trained myself to do. In my world, curiosity is dangerous. I set the tea service on the table with practiced efficiency, pouring for each man in order of apparent rank. The 3 subordinates first, the man built like a wall, then James Zhang last. The tea streams into his cup in a perfect amber arc, and I'm proud of my steady hands despite the anxiety churning in my stomach. Are you ready to order, or would you like more time? I ask in English, still playing the role of the waitress who doesn't speak their language. The concrete wall sneers. We'll order when we're ready. Leave the menus and go. I set down the menus and turn to leave, but James Zhang's voice stops me. You speak Mandarin. Not a question. A statement. His English is perfect, barely accented. I turn back, keeping my expression neutral. Yes, sir. From where? Shanghai, sir. His eyes narrow slightly, reassessing me. How long in San Francisco? 3 years, sir. One of the other men mutters something crude in Mandarin about Shanghai girls and what they're usually good for. My face burns, but I keep my expression blank. I've heard worse. I hear worse every week from men who think waitresses are interchangeable with decorations. Enough. James Zhang's voice cuts through the snickering like a blade. The men fall silent immediately. He looks at me again, and this time there's something calculating in his gaze. What's your name? May, sir. May Chin. I use my mother's maiden name, the one that's on all my documentation here. The one that can't be traced back to my father's debts. May Chin. He tests the name like he's tasting wine. You went to university. My stomach drops. How does he know that? Yes, sir. Business administration. In Shanghai. Yes, sir. He nods slowly, as if confirming something he already suspected. And now you're serving tea in a failing restaurant in the Sunset District. It's not a question, but it feels like one anyway. Like he's asking what choices led me here, what desperation keeps me here. I don't answer. We'll have the Peking duck, he says, shifting his attention to the menu. The braised abalone. Salt and pepper prawns. Mapo tofu, authentic preparation, not the sweet garbage you serve Americans. And bring us the XO sauce. The real stuff. I write everything down, noting that he's just ordered approximately $400 worth of food. Of course, sir. Anything else? That's all for now. I retreat to the kitchen where Chen is waiting, practically vibrating with anxiety. I hand him the order and he stares at it. Peking duck. We haven't made proper Peking duck in months. The oven. Then fix the oven, I say quietly. Because if we mess this up, we're both looking for new jobs. Or worse. For the next hour, the kitchen becomes organized chaos. Chen's son, who usually handles prep work, suddenly reveals he actually knows how to properly roast a duck. The line cook who I thought only knew how to make orange chicken starts preparing mapo tofu with the kind of care that suggests he's done it 1,000 times. Even the dishwasher gets involved, carefully washing the good plates we usually keep locked away. I make 3 trips to table 7, bringing courses one at a time, refilling tea, clearing plates. Each time, the men are deep in conversation, sometimes in Mandarin, sometimes in English, switching fluidly between languages as they discuss things I absolutely do not want to understand. Territory disputes. Personnel issues. Someone named Marcus who needs to be handled. A shipment coming in through Oakland that needs special attention. James Shang speaks less than the others, but when he does, everyone listens. His voice never rises. He never gestures emphatically. But there's weight to every word, like pronouncements from a judge. I'm invisible during these trips. Professional. Efficient. Exactly what Chen told me to be. Until the moment everything changes. I'm bringing the final course, a delicate preparation of bok choy in superior broth, when I notice something wrong. The dish looks perfect, smells perfect, but there's something off. A crystalline residue at the bottom of the bowl that shouldn't be there. The lighting catches it wrong. My blood turns to ice. I've seen that before. Once. In Shanghai, when my father's business partner invited him to dinner and my mother insisted on serving the food herself, switching plates at the last moment. The next day, that business partner was dead. Heart attack, they said. 34 years old and perfectly healthy, dead from a heart attack. But my mother knew better. She'd seen the crystalline residue in the soup. She'd saved my father's life that night. 3 months later, they killed him anyway. My hands are shaking as I set the bok choy on the table. The bowl is positioned in front of James Zhang, who's mid-conversation with concrete wall about some problem at one of the docks. He doesn't even glance at the food. I should walk away. I should go back to the kitchen, finish my shift, collect my tips, and go home. Whatever happens at this table is not my business. Not my problem. I'm just a waitress. But I hear my mother's voice in my head, when you have the power to save a life, silence becomes murder. And I realize, with horrible clarity, that I can't stay silent. I pull the small notepad from my apron pocket, the one I use to take orders. My pen hovers over the paper. If I'm wrong, I look paranoid or insane. If I'm right but they think I'm involved, I'm dead. If I'm right and they believe me. I write quickly in Mandarin characters. Poison. Switch plates. Then I tear the page carefully, fold it once, and lean forward as if adjusting the placement of the dish. My hand is steady, steadier than it should be, as I slide the note under the edge of James Zhang's phone. Enjoy your meal, I say in English, and walk away without looking back. My heart hammers against my ribs as I return to the kitchen. What have I just done? If someone in his organization poisoned that food, I've just exposed a traitor. If someone from outside managed to tamper with our kitchen, I've just revealed a security breach. Either way, I've inserted myself into something that could get me killed. Chen is at the pass, examining tickets that don't exist because we have no other customers tonight. How are they? He asks nervously. Fine, I manage. Everything's fine. It's not fine. Nothing about this is fine. I busy myself with meaningless tasks, wiping down already clean tables, refilling soy sauce containers that don't need refilling, rolling more silverware that won't be used tonight. Through the decorative screen, I can hear the continued murmur of conversation from table 7. Then, silence. Absolute silence. My blood turns cold. I've killed us all. They've read the note and now they're deciding how to handle the crazy waitress who thinks she knows better than Mei Chin. Concrete Wall's voice cuts through the restaurant. Come here. This is it. This is how I die. Killed in the same kind of restaurant where my father used to do business, by the same kind of men who killed him. There's a poetry to it that would be beautiful if it weren't so terrifying. I walk to table 7 on legs that feel disconnected from my body. All 4 men are staring at me. The bok choy bowl sits in front of Concrete Wall now, not James Zhang. James Zhang holds my note in his fingers, the characters facing him. You wrote this? His voice is perfectly neutral. Yes, sir. Why? I could lie. Should lie. But something in his eyes tells me he'll know, and lying to James Zhang seems more dangerous than telling the truth. I saw crystalline residue in the broth, sir. It shouldn't be there. It could be nothing, a problem with our dishwasher, some mineral deposit. Or it could be. I trail off, unable to say the word. Or it could be poison, he finishes for me. Yes, sir. And you've seen poison before. My throat tightens. Once, sir. A long time ago. In Shanghai. He studies me for a long moment, and I can feel him putting pieces together. Shanghai girl, university educated, working as a waitress, recognizes poison on sight. The conclusions he's drawing are probably close to the truth. What happened? He asks quietly. In Shanghai. When you saw poison before. My mother switched the plates, I whisper. The man who was supposed to die lived. For a while. Understanding flickers in his eyes. Then he turns to one of his men, not Concrete Wall, one of the others, younger, leaner. Call Dr. Huang. Have him meet us at the Pacific Heights house. Tell him to bring his testing kit. The man pulls out his phone immediately. James Zhang looks back at me. What's in that bowl might be nothing. Or it might be exactly what you think it is. He folds my note carefully and slides it into his jacket pocket. Either way, you may have just saved my life. I hope I'm wrong, sir, I say honestly. So do I. He stands, and the other men immediately rise with him. Because if you're right, that means someone in my organization or someone with access to this kitchen wants me dead. And I'm going to need to find out who. He pulls out a wallet, black leather, probably Italian, and extracts what looks like every bill inside. $500, maybe $600. He sets it on the table. For dinner, he says. Then he adds more bills. And for the information. I stare at the money. It's more than I make in a month. Sir, I can't. Yes, you can. His tone allows no argument. You took a risk warning me. If you're right, that risk saved my life. If you're wrong, you still showed good instincts and courage. His dark eyes hold mine. Both are valuable to me. He starts to walk past me, then pauses. How late do you work tonight? Until closing, sir. 11. He glances at his watch. I catch a glimpse of platinum and complications that probably cost more than a car. When you leave, one of my people will be waiting outside. He'll make sure you get home safely. That's not necessary, sir. It's very necessary. His voice drops lower. If someone tried to poison me here, they might have noticed you interfering. I protect people who protect me. Understand? I busy myself with meaningless tasks, wiping down already clean tables, refilling soy sauce containers that don't need refilling, rolling more silverware that won't be used tonight. Through the decorative screen, I can hear the continued murmur of conversation from table 7. Then, silence. Absolute silence. My blood turns cold. I've killed us all. They've read the note and now they're deciding how to handle the crazy waitress who thinks she knows better than Mei Chin. Concrete Wall's voice cuts through the restaurant. Come here. This is it. This is how I die. Killed in the same kind of restaurant where my father used to do business, by the same kind of men who killed him. There's a poetry to it that would be beautiful if it weren't so terrifying. I walk to table 7 on legs that feel disconnected from my body. All 4 men are staring at me. The bok choy bowl sits in front of Concrete Wall now, not James Zhang. James Zhang holds my note in his fingers, the characters facing him. You wrote this? His voice is perfectly neutral. Yes, sir. Why? I could lie. Should lie. But something in his eyes tells me he'll know, and lying to James Zhang seems more dangerous than telling the truth. I saw crystalline residue in the broth, sir. It shouldn't be there. It could be nothing, a problem with our dishwasher, some mineral deposit. Or it could be. I trail off, unable to say the word. Or it could be poison, he finishes for me. Yes, sir. And you've seen poison before. My throat tightens. Once, sir. A long time ago. In Shanghai. He studies me for a long moment, and I can feel him putting pieces together. Shanghai girl, university educated, working as a waitress, recognizes poison on sight. The conclusions he's drawing are probably close to the truth. What happened? He asks quietly. In Shanghai. When you saw poison before. My mother switched the plates, I whisper. The man who was supposed to die lived. For a while. Understanding flickers in his eyes. Then he turns to one of his men, not Concrete Wall, one of the others, younger, leaner. Call Dr. Huang. Have him meet us at the Pacific Heights house. Tell him to bring his testing kit. The man pulls out his phone immediately. James Zhang looks back at me. What's in that bowl might be nothing. Or it might be exactly what you think it is. He folds my note carefully and slides it into his jacket pocket. Either way, you may have just saved my life. I hope I'm wrong, sir, I say honestly. So do I. He stands, and the other men immediately rise with him. Because if you're right, that means someone in my organization or someone with access to this kitchen wants me dead. And I'm going to need to find out who. He pulls out a wallet, black leather, probably Italian, and extracts what looks like every bill inside. $500, maybe $600. He sets it on the table. For dinner, he says. Then he adds more bills. And for the information. I stare at the money. It's more than I make in a month. Sir, I can't. Yes, you can. His tone allows no argument. You took a risk warning me. If you're right, that risk saved my life. If you're wrong, you still showed good instincts and courage. His dark eyes hold mine. Both are valuable to me. He starts to walk past me, then pauses. How late do you work tonight? Until closing, sir. 11. He glances at his watch. I catch a glimpse of platinum and complications that probably cost more than a car. When you leave, one of my people will be waiting outside. He'll make sure you get home safely. That's not necessary, sir. It's very necessary. His voice drops lower. If someone tried to poison me here, they might have noticed you interfering. I protect people who protect me. Understand? Is he a good employer? Her mouth curves slightly. Not quite a smile. He's fair. Loyal to people who are loyal to him. Generous to those who earn it. And absolutely ruthless to anyone who betrays him. She meets my eyes in the mirror. You did something very brave tonight, Miss Chen. Or very stupid. I haven't decided which. Neither have I admit. The bull you flagged, Dr. Huang is testing it now. If you're right. She trails off, but the implication hangs heavy. If I'm right, I've exposed a conspiracy. If I'm wrong, I've wasted everyone's time with paranoid delusions. We pull up outside my building, a 1960s-era apartment complex with peeling paint and a front door that doesn't lock properly. It's not the worst place I've lived, but standing here with Linda in her expensive Mercedes, I'm suddenly ashamed of how far I've fallen. Linda parks and gets out, waiting for me on the sidewalk. Which floor? Third. But really, you don't need to. I do. Her tone is final. We climb the stairs. The elevator has been broken for 6 weeks, and I fumble with my keys at apartment 3C, hyper-aware of Linda's presence behind me. Professional. Alert. Her eyes scanning the hallway like she's cataloging threats. My apartment is exactly as I left it this morning. Tiny. A studio with a kitchenette, a bathroom barely big enough to turn around in, and a Murphy bed that I pull down from the wall every night. My few possessions are organized with obsessive neatness because there's no room for clutter. A small desk under the window where I sometimes take online courses, trying to make my Chinese degree mean something here. A hot plate because the stove doesn't work. My mother's jade bracelet in a box under the loose floorboard because I don't trust the locks on my door. Linda does a quick sweep, checking the bathroom, the closet, even looking under the Murphy bed frame. You live alone? Yes. Boyfriend? Roommates? No one. She nods, seemingly satisfied. Then she hands me a business card, black, with a phone number embossed in silver. Nothing else. This is a direct line. If anything seems wrong, if you see anyone suspicious, if you feel unsafe, you call immediately. Understand? I take the card with numb fingers. I understand. Mr. Zhang takes care of his people, Miss Chen. But you have to let him. She moves toward the door, then pauses. The bowl was poisoned. Dr. Huang confirmed it 20 minutes ago. Arsenic compound, slow-acting but lethal. You saved his life tonight. The floor seems to tilt under my feet. I was right. Someone actually tried to kill James Zhang in Chen's restaurant, and I stopped it. Who? I whisper. Who tried to? That's not information you need. Linda's voice is gentle but firm. What you need to know is that Mr. Zhang is grateful, and he doesn't forget debts. Good night, Miss Chen. Lock your door. Then she's gone, her footsteps echoing in the stairwell. I lock the door, both locks, plus the chain, and stand in my tiny apartment, still wearing my uniform, still holding Linda's card. My hands are shaking again. I saved James Shang's life. A man I'd never met before tonight. A man who runs half of San Francisco's underworld. A man who now considers me under his protection. My phone buzzes. Unknown number. This is James Shang. Linda confirmed you're home safely. Thank you again for your quick thinking tonight. Sleep well, Mei Chen. We'll talk soon. I stare at the message for a long time before responding. You're welcome, Mr. Zhang. I hope you find who did this. The reply comes within seconds. I will. And when I do, they'll regret ever threatening what's mine. What's mine? Not just his life. His organization. His territory. His people. Does that include me now? I don't sleep well that night. The next morning, I'm jolted awake by pounding on my door. My heart hammers as I stumble out of bed, grabbing the closest thing to a weapon I have, a heavy flashlight, before calling out in Mandarin, "Who is it?" Delivery for Mei Chen. I peer through the peephole to see a young man in a courier uniform, holding a large box. Behind him, I spot Linda leaning against the same Mercedes from last night, watching. I open the door cautiously. The courier thrusts an electronic pad at me. Sign here, please. I sign with a shaking hand, and he deposits the box inside my apartment before hurrying away. Linda catches my eye and nods once before getting back in the Mercedes and driving off. The box is large, white, tied with a black ribbon. There's a card on top, heavy cardstock with my name written in elegant calligraphy. Inside the card, you mentioned your uniform was uncomfortable. Consider this an upgrade. Jay-Z. I open the box carefully, half expecting something ridiculous or inappropriate. Instead, I find 3 complete outfits, each more beautiful than the last. Professional clothes, tailored pants, silk blouses, a structured blazer, a simple but elegant dress. Designer labels I recognize from magazines. Everything in my exact size, which means someone measured me or made very educated guesses. At the bottom of the box, nestled in tissue paper, is something that makes my throat tight, a new pair of non-slip restaurant shoes. Practical. Expensive. In my size. He noticed my shoes were cheap and worn. A detail so small I wouldn't have expected anyone to care. My phone buzzes. I hope everything fits. If not, Linda can arrange exchanges. The shoes are from a brand my sister recommends, apparently they're good for long shifts. Jay-Z. Before I can overthink it, I type back, "Thank you. This is too generous." Generosity would be giving you something you don't need. This is practicality. You can't serve customers effectively if you're uncomfortable. And you will be serving customers. Chen has agreed to some new management arrangements for Golden Phoenix. We'll discuss your role tomorrow. My role. I stare at the message, my stomach nodding. Mr. Zhang, I'm just a waitress. I don't know anything about restaurant management or... You recognize poison that my own security missed. You speak perfect Mandarin and English. You have a business degree. And you're someone I can trust, which is worth more than any of the rest. Tomorrow, 2 p.m., my office downtown. Linda will pick you up at 1:30. Don't be late. It's not a request. It's a summons. I spend the rest of Saturday in a state of anxious anticipation, alternating between trying on the new clothes, they fit perfectly, which is somehow more unsettling than if they didn't, and researching James Shang online. There's surprisingly little concrete information. He owns multiple restaurants, a import-export business, several commercial properties. He's photographed at charity galas occasionally, always in impeccable suits, always with beautiful women on his arm who are never the same twice. There are rumors, whispers on forums and chat rooms about his real business, about violence and territory and organizations, but nothing proven. Nothing actionable. He's a ghost in expensive clothing. Powerful but careful. Dangerous but invisible. And tomorrow I'm meeting him in his office to discuss my role. Sunday morning, I dress in one of the new outfits, tailored black pants and a cream silk blouse that makes me look like a professional instead of a struggling immigrant. I put on minimal makeup and pull my hair into a neat bun. When I look in the mirror, I barely recognize myself. Linda arrives at exactly 1:30, punctual to the second. This time she's driving a different car, a sleek black sedan that probably costs more than I'll earn in 5 years. "You look good," she says approvingly as I slide into the back seat. "Professional. Mr. Zhang will appreciate that." "What does he want from me?" I ask as we pull into traffic. Linda's eyes meet mine in the rearview mirror. "Honestly, I think he's still figuring that out. But I can tell you this, he doesn't waste time on people who don't interest him. And you, Miss Chen, have definitely caught his interest." The way she says it makes my stomach flutter nervously. I don't. "Relax." Linda's voice is amused. "He's not that kind of man. If he wanted you in his bed, he'd be very direct about it. This is something else." "What?" "I think he sees something in you that reminds him of himself. Someone smart who's had to survive in a world that wasn't built for them. Someone who understands risk and reward." She navigates through downtown traffic with practiced ease. "And someone who has the courage to do the right thing even when it's dangerous." We pull up to a sleek high-rise in the financial district. The lobby is all marble and glass, the kind of building that exists to announce wealth and power. Linda leads me to a private elevator that requires a key card to access. "Mr. Zhang's offices are on the top floor," she explains as we ascend. "You'll meet with him privately. Just be honest, he values directness over flattery." The elevator doors open directly into a reception area that's more like a luxury apartment than an office. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcase a panoramic view of San Francisco, the Bay, the bridges, the city sprawling below like a kingdom. The furniture is modern and minimal, all clean lines and expensive materials. A young man in an immaculate suit greets us. "Miss Chen. Mr. Zhang is expecting you. Please, follow me." He leads me through a hallway lined with artwork, actual art, not prints, pieces that probably cost more than my entire building, to a set of double doors at the end. He knocks once, waits for a response, then opens them. "Miss Chen, sir." "Thank you, David." I step into James Shang's office, and the doors close behind me with a soft click. The office is stunning. More windows, more art, a desk that looks like a sculpture, and James Zhang standing by those windows, hands in his pockets, silhouetted against the bright afternoon light. He turns when I enter, and I'm struck again by the sheer presence of him. Today he's wearing a dark blue suit with no tie, the top button of his shirt undone. More casual than Friday night, but no less commanding. "Mei Chin." He says my name like he's been thinking about it. "Thank you for coming. You didn't really give me a choice, Mr. Zhang." A smile ghosts across his lips. "No, I suppose I didn't. Please, sit." He gestures to a seating area away from the desk, a sofa and chairs arranged around a low table. Less formal. I perch on the edge of the sofa, my new clothes suddenly feeling like a costume. James settles into the chair across from me, his posture relaxed but his eyes sharp. "How are you feeling? Any problems since Friday?" "No problems." Linda was very thorough. "Good. And the clothes fit?" "Perfectly. Though you really didn't need to." "I did." He cuts me off gently. "You saved my life, May. That debt requires more than a thank you note and some cash." The use of my first name catches me off guard. So does the intensity in his eyes. Have you found out who did it? I ask. Who poisoned the food? His expression hardens. We're pursuing several leads. The kitchen at Golden Phoenix had a temporary worker that night, someone Chen hired off the books because he was short-staffed. That person has disappeared. Chen didn't know, I say quickly, defending my boss despite everything. He's desperate. The restaurant is failing and he's just trying to keep it afloat. I know. Which is why I've decided to invest rather than destroy him for the security breach. James leans forward slightly. I'm buying a controlling interest in Golden Phoenix. Chen will remain as nominal owner, but I'll control operations. The restaurant will be renovated, properly staffed, and turned into something successful. I nod slowly, seeing the logic. James Shang doesn't just want revenge for the poisoning attempt, he wants to ensure it can't happen again. Taking over the restaurant gives him control over the venue that was used against him. Where do I fit into this? I ask carefully. That depends on what you want. He studies me intently. I could simply thank you, pay you for your trouble, and send you back to your life. You'd continue waitressing at Golden Phoenix under new management, probably making better tips because the restaurant will be successful. Or you could work for me directly. He says it casually, but there's weight behind the words. I need someone I can trust. Someone smart, observant, who understands both Chinese and American business culture. Someone who can move through different worlds without drawing attention. My heart pounds. You want me to be what, exactly? A translator? An assistant? Both? Neither. I'm not entirely sure yet. He runs a hand through his hair, a gesture that's surprisingly human. What I know is that Friday night, you saw something my security missed. You made a split-second decision that saved my life. And you did it knowing it could put you in danger. He stands and moves to the windows, looking out over the city. Most people in my world are there because of family connections, or ambition, or because they have no other options. But you could have walked away. You could have let me eat that food and minded your own business. Why didn't you? The question hangs in the air. I stand too, moving to join him by the windows, maintaining a respectful distance. Because my mother taught me that silence is complicity, I say quietly. Because I've seen what poison does. Because. I hesitate, then decide on honesty. Because even though I don't know you, even though I understand what you probably are, I couldn't let you die when I had the power to prevent it. He turns to look at me, and the intensity in his gaze makes my breath catch. What do you think I am, May? I think you're a man who operates outside the law. I think you control things that can't be controlled legally. I think people are afraid of you for good reasons. I meet his eyes steadily. And I think you're probably not much different from the men who killed my father in Shanghai. Something flickers across his face. Surprise, maybe, that I'm being so direct. If you believe that, why are you here? Because you've been nothing but fair to me. Because you protected me when you didn't have to. Because. I take a breath. Because I'm tired of just surviving. And I think working for you might give me the chance to actually live. Silence stretches between us. Through the windows, I can see the entire city, beautiful and indifferent, full of people living lives I'll never touch. Your father, James says finally. What happened to him? I swallow hard. I never talk about this. Never. But something about this moment, this office, this man demands honesty. He owned a manufacturing business in Shanghai. Legitimate, mostly. But he needed capital to expand, and he borrowed from people who weren't banks. My hands clench at my sides. When the economy crashed and he couldn't pay, they decided he was worth more dead than alive. Life insurance, business assets, they took everything. My mother and I fled to the US before they could come for us too. How old were you? 23. I just finished university. I laughed bitterly. I thought my degree would matter here. Thought I could rebuild. But 3 years later, I'm serving tea to men who remind me of the ones who killed my father. James is quiet for a long moment. Then, the men who killed your father, they were short-sighted and stupid. They destroyed an asset instead of controlling it. That's not how I operate. No. No. He turns fully toward me now. I build things, May. I invest in people and businesses that have potential. I protect what's mine. And yes, I operate outside the law when necessary, but I'm not a thug. I'm a businessman who happens to work in markets that aren't on stock exchanges. That's a very diplomatic way of describing organized crime. His mouth curves. You're direct. I appreciate that. You said you value honesty over flattery. I do. He moves closer, not threatening, but purposeful. Here's some honesty for you. I want you to work for me because you're intelligent, capable, and brave. But also because the moment you passed me that note on Friday night, you became part of my world whether you intended to or not. The people who tried to kill me know you interfered. That makes you a liability to them and an asset to me. Ice runs down my spine. You're saying I'm in danger. I'm saying you're safer with me than without me. His voice is matter of fact. I can protect you, May. I can give you a life that's better than surviving. But only if you trust me. I don't trust easily, Mr. Zhang. James, he corrects. And I don't expect you to trust me immediately. Trust is earned. But I'm asking you to take a chance. He extends his hand. Work for me. Let me prove that I'm not like the men who killed your father. I stare at his outstretched hand. This is the moment. The choice. Go back to my studio apartment and my failing restaurant and my careful, small life. Or step into his world, dangerous and uncertain but full of possibilities I've been too afraid to imagine. My mother's voice echoes in my head, sometimes the only way forward is through fire. I take his hand. His grip is firm, warm, confident. Okay, I say. I'll work for you. But I have conditions. His eyebrows rise, intrigued. Name them. First, I need to know what I'm actually doing. No vague job descriptions. Clear expectations. Fair. Second, if you ask me to do something illegal, I have the right to refuse without retaliation. He considers this. Agreed, within reason. I won't ask you to do anything that would seriously compromise your morals. But understand that working for me means existing in gray areas. I understand. Third, if I ever want out, I can leave. No threats, no consequences, no making me disappear. His expression grows serious. That one I can't promise unconditionally. If you learn sensitive information, which you will, there are limits to how cleanly you can walk away. But I can promise this, I won't harm you or coerce you. If you want out, we'll find a way that keeps you safe and keeps my business secure. It's not the answer I wanted, but it's honest. And honesty matters more than empty promises. Okay, I say. Then we have a deal. He releases my hand but doesn't step back. You start tomorrow. Linda will pick you up at 8. Bring your laptop if you have one, I'll provide a new one if not. Dress professionally but comfortably. You'll be shadowing me for the first week, learning how my organization operates. What about Golden Phoenix? Chen is expecting me for my shift. I'll handle Chen. You're done waitressing. He says it with such finality that I almost believe it's that simple. Your salary will be 80,000 a year to start, plus bonuses based on performance. Health insurance, housing allowance, and other benefits. Linda will go over the details. 80,000. I make barely 22,000 waitressing, and that's when I'm lucky with tips. That's too much, I say automatically. It's market rate for someone with your skills and education. In my organization, people are paid what they're worth, not what they're desperate enough to accept. He moves back toward his desk, pulling out a folder. This is a standard employment contract. Take it home, read it carefully. If you have questions or want changes, we'll discuss them tomorrow. I take the folder with numb fingers. This is really happening. 24 hours ago I was a waitress in a dying restaurant. Now I'm signing an employment contract with a man who controls half of San Francisco's underworld. May. James's voice stops me as I turn toward the door. One more thing. I look back. You asked why I noticed your shoes were worn. His dark eyes hold mine. I notice everything about the people in my orbit. It's how I stay alive. And right now, you're very much in my orbit. The words send a shiver through me, not quite fear, not quite excitement, something more complicated that I don't have a name for. I'll see you tomorrow, James. Tomorrow, he confirms. Linda is waiting when I emerge from the office, her expression knowing but unsurprised. So, are you one of us now? I clutch the contract folder to my chest. I think so. I'm still processing. She laughs, a warm, genuine sound. It takes time. Come on, I'll drive you home. And then we should probably go shopping. If you're working directly for Mr. Zhang, you'll need a proper wardrobe. He already sent me clothes. Those were basics. Now you need business meeting clothes, event clothes, and clothes for when you need to look expensive without trying. She sees my expression and adds gently, it's part of the job, May. When you represent James Zhang, you represent his success. That means looking the part. As we drive through the city, my new reality begins to sink in. I'm not just leaving waitressing behind. I'm stepping into a completely different life, one with designer clothes and bodyguards and salary that seems impossible. One where I work for a man who's both dangerous and protective, who sees something in me I'm not sure I see in myself. My phone buzzes. Chen, from Golden Phoenix. Mr. Zhang called me. Said you won't be returning. Is this true? You're leaving. I stare at the message for a long moment before replying. Yes, I'm leaving. But Golden Phoenix is going to be okay, Chen. Better than okay. Mr. Zhang will take care of it. And what about you? Will you be okay? I think about that as Linda navigates through Sunday traffic. Will I be okay? I've just tied myself to a man whose enemies tried to poison him. Whose world operates in shadows and violence. Whose protection comes with obligations I'm only beginning to understand. But I'm also no longer alone. No longer invisible. No longer just surviving. I think I will be, I type back. I really think I will be. That evening, alone in my apartment, I read the contract 3 times. It's surprisingly straightforward, none of the legal tricks or hidden clauses I'd feared. My role is listed as Special Assistant to the CEO, which could mean anything or nothing. The salary, benefits, and terms are exactly as James described. There's one clause that catches my attention. The employee acknowledges that the nature of this position may involve exposure to confidential and sensitive information. The employee agrees to maintain absolute discretion regarding all business matters and to report any security concerns immediately to the employer. Absolute discretion. Sensitive information. Security concerns. I'm being hired to be his eyes and ears. To see what others miss. To use the same instincts that caught the poison in that bowl. My phone buzzes again. James. Did you read the contract? Any concerns? I hesitate, then type, one question. The clause about discretion and security, does that mean you want me to spy on people? His response comes quickly, I want you to observe and report. There's a difference between intelligence gathering and espionage. You'll understand better once you see how my business operates. But if that aspect makes you uncomfortable, we can discuss it tomorrow. I appreciate that he's not sugarcoating it. He wants me to be his observer, his extra set of eyes in situations where he can't be everywhere at once. It's not pretty, but it's honest. I'll see you tomorrow, I send back. Sleep well, May. Tomorrow your real life begins. I set my phone down and look around my tiny apartment. Tomorrow I'll still wake up here, in this cramped space with its broken elevator and leaking faucet. But somehow everything feels different already. I pull out my mother's jade bracelet from its hiding place under the floorboard. She wore it every day until the debt collectors came. Then she gave it to me the night we fled Shanghai, pressing it into my hands with tears streaming down her face. Wear this, she'd said in Mandarin. And remember that you come from strength. Whatever you have to do to survive, do it without shame. I clasped the bracelet around my wrist. The jade is cool against my skin, familiar and grounding. Tomorrow I start working for James Zhang. Tomorrow I step fully into his world. And for the first time in 3 years, I feel something that might be hope. Monday morning, Linda arrives at exactly 7:45. I'm ready, dressed in one of the new outfits, tailored gray pants and a silk blouse, my hair neat, minimal jewelry except for my mother's bracelet. Professional but not trying too hard. If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. Linda nods approvingly when she sees me. Perfect. You look like you belong. I don't feel like I belong. Fake it until you make it. That's what everyone does. She hands me a coffee, perfectly prepared, somehow knowing I take it with just a splash of milk. James wanted you to have this. He said you'd need the caffeine. The coffee is from an expensive cafe, not Starbucks. Of course it is. We drive to a different location this time, not the financial district office but a restaurant in North Beach. Dimly lit even in the morning, with the kind of authentic Italian atmosphere that speaks to old money and older connections. This is Marchetti's, Linda explains as we park. One of James's legitimate businesses. The family who owned it for 3 generations was going bankrupt. James bought them out, kept the original staff, and turned it profitable within 6 months. How? Better management. And making sure certain people knew that eating here was the smart choice. Her tone is dry. You'll learn that James has a talent for making things succeed just by being associated with them. Inside, the restaurant is being set up for lunch service. Staff move efficiently through the space, but everything stops when Linda and I enter. They know who she is. They know what her presence means. A man emerges from the back, mid-50s, silver hair, chef's whites. He embraces Linda warmly before turning curious eyes on me. Tony, this is Mei Chin, Linda says in English. She's working with Mr. Zhang now. May, this is Antonio Marchetti, he runs the kitchen here. Pleasure, Antonio says, his accent thick with generations of Italian-American heritage. Any friend of Mr. Zhang is family here. He studies me with sharp eyes. You're the one from Friday night. At Golden Phoenix. News travels fast in this world. Yes, sir. Smart girl. He nods approvingly. Mr. Zhang values smart. Come, he's waiting in the back office. He leads us through the kitchen, immaculate, professional, the kind of operation that runs like clockwork, to a small office tucked behind the dry storage. James is inside, jacket off, sleeves rolled up, reviewing what looks like supply invoices. He looks up when we enter, and something in his expression softens when he sees me. May. Good morning. Good morning. Coffee? Linda already provided some. Thank you. He sets aside the invoices and gestures for me to sit. Linda discreetly withdraws, closing the door behind her. Welcome to your first day, James says, leaning back in his chair. I thought we'd start here rather than the downtown office. Most of my businesses operate through restaurants and retail spaces. They're good cover and good cash flow. Legitimate money that can absorb less legitimate income. He's being remarkably direct about the money laundering aspect. Testing me, maybe. Seeing if I'll flinch. I don't flinch. You're going to shadow me for the next few days, he continues. Watch how I interact with people, how I negotiate, how I solve problems. You'll take notes, mental notes, not written ones, and at the end of each day, we'll debrief. You'll tell me what you observed, what questions you have, what didn't make sense. Okay. You'll also meet my key people. Linda, you know. There's Marcus, my head of security, you'll meet him today. David, who manages my legal businesses. A few others. They'll know you have my confidence, which means they'll respect you. Don't abuse that. I won't. He studies me for a moment. You're nervous. Wouldn't you be? A smile tugs at his lips. Probably. When I started in this business, I was terrified every day for the first year. But I learned that fear is useful, it keeps you sharp, keeps you careful. The danger is when you stop being afraid, when you think you're untouchable. Is that what happened to whoever tried to poison you? They stopped being afraid. His expression hardens. That's what we're trying to determine. Speaking of which. He pulls out his phone and shows me a photograph. Do you recognize this man? I study the image. Asian male, late 20s, unremarkable features. No. Should I? He's the temporary kitchen worker at Golden Phoenix. He disappeared Friday night. We found his body yesterday in the bay. My stomach lurches. Dead? Very. Someone made sure he couldn't talk about who hired him. James's voice is matter of fact, but his eyes are cold. Which means whoever wanted me dead is still out there, and they're covering their tracks. Does that mean I'm still in danger? It means we're both being careful. He stands, shrugging into his jacket. Come on. We have a meeting in Chinatown. The morning passes in a blur of activity. We visit 3 different restaurants, an import shop, and a warehouse facility. At each location, James is greeted with deference bordering on fear. He speaks to everyone, managers, workers, even delivery drivers, asking specific questions, noting small details, solving problems with decisive efficiency. I watch and learn. I see how he commands respect without raising his voice. How he rewards loyalty and competence. How he handles disputes with fairness but absolute firmness. And I see the fear underneath the respect, the knowledge that James Shang is not someone you want as an enemy. At the warehouse, I meet Marcus, the head of security who Linda mentioned. He's younger than I expected, maybe 40, with the kind of calm intensity that speaks to military background. He and James review security protocols while I observe from a discreet distance. The Sunset breach was an embarrassment, Marcus says bluntly. We should have vetted that temporary worker. We should have, James agrees. Make sure it doesn't happen again. New protocol, no unvetted personnel in any location where I'll be present. Ever. Already implemented. I've also increased surveillance on known rivals. If someone's making a move, we'll know. They talk for another 10 minutes about security measures, personnel changes, and threat assessments. I try to absorb the terminology, the protocols, the way they discuss violence and protection as casually as other businesses might discuss marketing strategies. When Marcus leaves, James turns to me. Thoughts? You run your organization like a corporation. Structure, accountability, clear chains of command. Because that's what it is. The illegality is almost incidental, it's still a business. He checks his watch. We have one more stop before lunch. Are you okay? You look pale. The smile he gives me is private, intimate, full of promise for later when we're alone. It still makes my breath catch, still makes my heart race, still makes me grateful that I had the courage to pass him that note. He excuses himself from the conversation and crosses to me, pulling me into his arms despite the public setting. What are you thinking about? He murmurs against my hair. About how much has changed. About how different my life is now. Better or worse? I pull back to look at him, this complicated, dangerous, beautiful man who chose to love me. So much better. Good. He kisses me softly. Because I have something for you. He pulls a small box from his jacket pocket. Not a ring box, larger. I open it with trembling fingers. Inside is the bracelet from Mr. Wu's store. The jade and diamond one that reminded me of my mother's bracelet. James, this is too much. It's exactly right. He takes it from the box, fastening it around my wrist next to my mother's jade. 2 bracelets. One from your past, one from your future. Both part of who you are. I stare at the paired bracelets, old and new, history and hope, loss and love, and feel tears prick my eyes. I have something for you too, I say impulsively. Yeah. Yes. I take a deep breath, gathering courage. Move the golden phoenix pendant. The one you bought for your mother. Understanding dawns in his eyes. You want to meet my mother. If she'll have me. If you think it's time. He cups my face in both hands, looking at me with such intensity it steals my breath. Mei Chen, I would be honored to introduce you to my mother. She's going to love you. How do you know? Because I love you. And because you're exactly the kind of strong, smart, fearless woman she raised me to find. He kisses me again, deeper this time, uncaring of who might see. You're my future, May. All of it. The words settle into my chest like coming home. Later that night, wrapped in expensive sheets with James asleep beside me, I think about the journey that brought me here. From Shanghai to San Francisco, from my father's death to James's life, from survival to something like happiness. I think about the moment I saw the crystalline residue in that bowl. About the split-second decision to write that note. About every choice since then that led me to this moment. And I realized that sometimes salvation comes from the most unexpected places. Sometimes the most dangerous choice is the right one. Sometimes the person you should run from is exactly the person you need to run toward. I press a kiss to James's shoulder, and he stirs, pulling me closer even in sleep. I love you, I whisper into the darkness. And in his sleep, he whispers back, mine. Yes, I think, settling into his embrace. His. And he's mine. In the world we've built together, dangerous and complicated and absolutely ours, that's enough. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you love this story, check out the other videos on your screen now, I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.